Welcome to You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Walker, and today I'm talking to William Estes, who is a Christian businessman from Atlanta. And he's going to share with you an experience he had in his job that was very distressing. However, the Lord turned it around for him in a great and mighty way. And we just want to encourage you that if you're having problems in your job situation, that the Lord knows where you are and that He is working in your situation. Welcome to the show, William.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you've been on the show about a year and a half ago, and we talked about visions that you had had and those kinds of things. But this year, you've had some turmoil in the work career. So tell us what happened and how the Lord prepared you for that coming.
So at the end of last year, I started to have just a bubbling up, if you will, in my heart that there was going to be some sort of shakeup, like something was about to change. And so I actually began to hear that the next season, which I actually felt, in this particular was about to happen at the change of the year. A lot of times, people equate the change of seasons with Rosh Hashanah, but this one was particularly going to happen in January. And so I kept hearing in my spirit, this is a season of new beginnings, and I found myself even giving that as a prophetic word to others. It just is a season of new beginnings. And so that's how I felt the beginning of the preparation period for what was about to happen. Had no idea what was about to happen, but I knew something was.
And when you usually think about a new beginning, you think it's going to be something wonderful, and you're not really expecting a bump in the road,
right.
Are you?
That's right.
Yes. Okay, so how did the year start off for you?
It started off, so I was Chief Operating Officer of a national software firm based here in Atlanta. And I had been with them for several years and was very good friends with our CEO, and we had known each other for years even before I came on board. And I just felt like, there was a constricting and a restructuring going on that was, a lot of us were out of the loop on it, and we felt that constriction, that's the word that I kept feeling and hearing, it was just a constriction. And so a couple of weeks into January, I actually got a prophetic word from a dear friend of mine as I was about to walk into a meeting, with my friend and former boss, who was about to deliver the news to me that we were going to completely restructure, and that included a now long-distance commute for me.
Oh, wow.
That I was told originally would not happen. So that was the word that I got, was that the Lord was about to give me autonomy from this situation. I didn't really know what that meant, but I went into the meeting and sure enough received the news, and a peace just absolutely flooded me beyond comprehension. And so that was how things started to change, and just feeling that constriction. But that was just the beginning.
Yes. Okay, so when did things really change?
They really changed about 2 days later, when I was getting ready to leave to go to Moravian Falls. I was going to a Christian businessman retreat up there. And it was personal. It wasn't work-related or anything, even though it was business. It was just for more of a mentorship kind of program. And I was actually going to go to the Biltmore House. I was going to go up a few days earlier and spend a few days in Asheville and just spend some time with the Lord. I just really wanted to go up there. It was a beautiful time of the year up there. And so that was when everything began to change, was right before I left for that trip. I spoke with the CEO of one of the largest firms in this industry in the U.S., a top 50 in the U.S., and actually the largest in Georgia. And he just expressed a tremendous amount of interest in discussing some opportunities with me. And so I told him I'm about to leave, go on vacation. And he said, "Can you come on your way?" And I said, "Well, I'm leaving tomorrow morning," which was a Saturday. And he says, "We'll be here early, however early you need us, we'll be here." So they actually, him and one of our corporate attorneys came in to meet with me, and everything changed. They actually looked at me across the table. They had only spoken to me for about 30 minutes before that in a phone conversation.
Yes.
There was some interest to buy the company that I was currently at, and only if I came to manage it, though. And so I called my former boss and said, I think I just sold your company, but I really didn't intend to do that.
Yes.
And so it was exciting for a little while, and we were, hopeful about that. And then I go off, spend a few days with the Lord, and then some further time in Moravian Falls. That week I had the most amazing words, confirmations, dreams, and visions about a new position. And I knew that this was the start of something big.
Yes. Tell me about those.
So I had dreams and words. People would just come up to me in Moravian Falls and give me words about a season of new beginnings.
Yes.
And that the Lord was getting ready to do a great change in my job and my career. And a few other confirmations that really spoke to the autonomy piece that I had already received. And I had some dreams as well that really just sort of prepared me for a new position, and I didn't really know what that looked like. So it was just an amazing faith in the Lord. It truly was. I felt like for that entire week, I had the most supernatural measure of faith and peace that was poured out upon me, because I felt deep in my heart that part of that constriction was going to ultimately turn into a negative thing. Yes. on my current position. But I was so hopeful for what was about to happen. I didn't know what it was, but I knew something big was going to happen when I got back.
Now, there was the weekend of January 24th. Is that Moravian Falls, or is that another weekend?
After.
Okay, well, tell me about that weekend and what happened.
So I came back from Moravian Falls and continued the conversations with my then current CEO about an acquisition or merger or something like that. And everything had changed about him. To an unfortunate degree, and I actually saw Mammon playing him like a puppet. And this man is an awesome Christian. I still to this day, I love him and have so much respect and admiration for him, and he's done so many wonderful things in my life. And I knew that was only a temporary thing. But nonetheless, it did change his whole attitude and perspective, and it ultimately came down to the numbers, and that was it.
Yes.
And I knew that he and this other CEO were on two totally separate pages. So I initially tried to sort of play the middleman, and then I just felt like the Lord was saying, just step back and watch. And so that's what I did. And I returned back, and the CEO of the new company wanted to meet with me and my former CEO and one other person in our company, and just explore that and see what it looks like. And that was when everything really dramatically changed. The night before, I was given an ultimatum that I had to sign this very constricting agreement. Yes. That I would not breathe or move without, any kind of written consent or permission. And it even went into several years into the future of my whatever career ended up being, was that I was very much limited in whom I could even talk to. Basically anyone I'd ever worked with.
Wow.
Yeah, within the last several years. And I knew that was not him.
Yes.
I knew that there were outside parties that were really just, convincing him that was the only way and the best way to do that. So I didn't feel that I was supposed to sign that, and I just told him, I said, I need some time to pray about that. Meanwhile, we were supposed to be meeting with the new guys that next Saturday morning again, early in the morning. That night I had a dream, and I got fired in the dream. And I woke up, and I sat up in bed Saturday morning and heard the audible voice of the Lord. As I started to have an open vision, I saw on the vision the sun coming up over the horizon. And I heard the Lord say, this is a destiny day for you. This is the day your life will change forever. He said, I have already redeemed that which you were about to lose. And I knew what it meant. I knew that it meant my relationship with my friend. And I was on my way to the coffee pot, and I had just emailed him and told him I didn't feel comfortable signing it. If that meant we need to cancel the meeting, then so be it. And when I got to the coffee pot, I got a text message from one of my mom's friends that said, this decision that you're about to hear about has already been ordained by the Lord. You just need to trust Him and know that this is all Him. So I did, and the phone rang, and it was my former CEO, and he wanted to know why I wouldn't sign that contract, and I told him I just didn't feel comfortable. I felt like it was very aggressive and constrictive, and in that conversation, in a matter of seconds, I got fired.
Yes.
So, but again,
But you
peace,
were prepared for that.
I was. That peace
Yes, and
just flooded me.
And God had already shown you that and given you hope.
That's right.
That He was going to do something really big in your life.
That's right.
So when you heard that you were fired, what were your emotions? Or
interestingly enough, I'd never been through anything like that before, and it would have normally been very traumatic, just because
right.
I'm single, and fortunately I wouldn't have had any kids or anyone else that I would have had to care for. But at the same time, my income is my only income.
Right.
So and the Lord has blessed me very well over the years, and I would have normally, not known what to do. But again, that flood of peace and faith in the Lord. I've never experienced such a supernatural high. I've had a lot of encounters over the years with the Lord, but that which flooded me that entire week, and the climax of that was that day, that I literally turned to my phone after I hung up and said, well, thanks, Lord. I know you've already got this taken care of. And so I texted the CEO of the new company, and I said, I said, well, it doesn't look like the other guys are going to be joining us. I said, but I was wondering if I could still meet with you. And he said, absolutely, we'll be waiting. So I went and met with them, and I walked in and said, I think I just lost my job and my friend. And they said, well, let's chat. So we went in.
Yes, and that conversation was a great conversation. What was the result of that conversation?
The result was one of the most supernatural encounters with moving into a new position, as well as such a high position with a large, very large, reputable international firm. And it's also a Jewish firm.
Oh, really?
Yes. So, which was a great blessing to me.
Yes.
Israel is in my heart, and the Jewish people are in my heart. But it was very interesting because the conversation, none of what had just happened mattered. It was as if they had even been prepared for this.
Right.
And to an extent, they actually were. My former CEO was even trying to get them to sign a very constrictive agreement before we met as well, that they wouldn't talk to me. And he was able to read the writing on the wall. He said he didn't want you to come over here without us paying a high price for you. He said, it's clear to us that you were actually what we were after.
Right.
And he saw that.
Both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and a friend subsequently told me that it was is it Laban that was the Jacob's father-in-law that kept pulling his daughter back, the one that he wanted, and he said, okay, if you'll work for me for 7 more years, okay. He did it again and again. It was almost like that. I felt like I was being tugged on like that, which could feel great for a minute, but not when you just got fired.
No, really.
So walked into the meeting, and it was just absolutely amazing. In seconds, he says, well, I have an idea. Why don't you come work for us and build it all from within and much more?
Wow.
And I mean, it was just absolutely, that was done. And the Lord even, not that this is an important part, but just goes to show that the Lord goes above and beyond. Even the compensation was higher. And none of this mattered. Normally there's a vetting process that the firm like that goes through, and requirements and educational requirements and all that, not applicable.
Well, tell us how all that creating and building of the business has gone for you and how you were received.
So I came in, he said, obviously you're ready to start.
Yes.
And I said, yep. So I started
I can start right away.
Right away, that's exactly what happened. And I have to say, I've never experienced such a welcoming group as I did. It was when I walked in that next week, everyone was waiting for me. And that means that this new CEO, a man whom I have just so much respect and admiration for, had literally overnight prepared the way. He was used in ways he didn't really realize he was being used, but He went along with every bit of it and made it a very comfortable transition, welcoming transition. It could have been very frictional, but it was not. Everything was prepared. Everyone was saying, well, we've been waiting for you. We've been waiting for you. And this just happened 2 days before.
Yeah, it's like stepping into heaven, isn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
It
Because,
was.
I just feel like when we step into heaven, there are going to be people there who greet us in that fashion.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know us, they love us, they've been waiting for us.
That's right.
And that just feels really nice.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was,
Yeah.
especially after what I'd just gone through,
Oh, yeah.
all those flashes before, at that point I was, when I was fired, I was actually sent a letter by his attorney via text message, a picture of a letter that basically banned me from speaking to anyone that I had ever worked or anything with. And I had no signed contract before that. I had no employment contract or anything. We were a small company when I first started, and we just hadn't implemented anything like that at that time. So fortunately, I wasn't bound by anything in writing, but however, I wanted to honor my friend to the extent that it didn't hinder what God was doing now. So if he didn't want me to speak with people that I'd worked with for so many years for a season, I'm fine with that.
Yes.
And that's what I felt, is that the Lord's going to redeem all that.
Yes.
He already has.
Yeah, that's great. And then this job is really playing into your destiny, isn't it?
It is.
And you have a love for Israel,
Mm-hmm.
and you're connected with Israel through your job.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about that connection and how you see that this is part of your destiny.
As far as business, I had seen a lot of that initiation and the relationship starting in my previous career, the one that had just ended. And a lot of that is even still to this day coming up to the surface. Like the fruit is actually starting to come from those seeds that were sown years ago. Where I even at the end of this career was saying, Lord, where's the fruit from that? I felt like I did what you told me to by going and establishing these relationships. Well, the fruit is for now. And that's definitely for all of us to keep in mind when we want to be discouraged because we're not seeing the fruit. Just hang tight, because it might be for another season or two or whatever, but it will come. And to me, that's been the greatest reward, is in this new role, as I've been literally creating this, as the Lord has given me the designs and the architecture of this entire new division, which has been amazing in that process in and of itself. As He's been giving me that, these relationships that I had established in the past are starting to surface in this new career. And just the other day, one of a great connection group, basically between Israel and the United States. I've been reconnected with my major contact there, whom I actually went to Israel with on a trip before, and just amazing how. Even he said, his response to me when I said, let's do lunch, he said, there is a God.
Yes.
I said, there absolutely is. And he knew what he was doing when he introduced us.
Yes.
So long ago.
So this company does a business with Israel. So do you go to Israel through this company?
As a matter of fact, the day after I met with my now CEO, the day after I met with him originally, when he wanted to acquire the company and so forth, he left for Israel. So the company goes back and forth in different roles, and I may even go very soon in this. But yes, I feel there's no doubt that God has even provided places for me to stay through organizations that I'm a part of and so forth. All that's been paved and ready, and it's just been set up, and that's the most fascinating part for me I've never in my life felt like this is like I'm truly in my destiny. I saw it unfold before my very eyes at the beginning of the season.
Yes, and I just want to make a point that the constriction that came to you was from nothing that you had done.
Correct.
It was really a fear that you would go to the other company, and it was a way to keep you from doing that.
That's right.
And so you kept your godly stance and all of that, and honored your former employer. And that's how we do.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the godly way to do it.
And I believe in that particular case that God was giving him an opportunity to be a part of this new organization, because I believe God was honoring him for honoring me when I went to Israel all those years.
Yes.
And when he told me, I'll never forget, he said, I feel the blessings of in my life and my business and my marriage and in my family because of what you do for Israel.
Right.
Whenever God says go, you have my full blessing, go. And for years, he allowed me to do that. And I feel like God was giving him the opportunity, and I believe he will give him another chance.
Yes.
Because he wants to honor that. As a business owner, that man went above and beyond to allow me to do what God told me to do, even though I was responsible for running one of his organizations.
Yes, that's wonderful. Now, through all this, I know you kept an attitude of thankfulness.
That's right.
And that's how you keep your joy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's also how you combat the enemy in your
That's
life.
right.
All right, so talk about that and tell me how you discovered that and how you use that in your life and how other people might use that.
Years ago, I was at a conference at Bethel in Atlanta, and a Jewish man from California was there speaking, and he was a Messianic Jew, and he came up to me and he put his hand on my heart, and he began to give me this word that I was a man of a thankful heart, that I had been given an extra measure of gratitude that I would then ultimately teach people about and share with people about. And so I just realized this is the fruit of even that.
Yeah, it is.
So it really truly has been an amazing part of my own walk with the Lord. Since then, before that I had seen that to a measure, just alone with the Lord, but because of that word, I really pursued that with the Lord and called it forth.
Yes.
And just felt like, Lord, I know that I'm thankful now, but I believe you can help me to be more thankful. Help me to be thankful in the little things, in the good things, in the bad times, in the good times. And he truly honored that. He showed me how to be thankful for some of the most horrific things that have happened to me or my family or anyone that I know and love.
Yeah.
And when you tap into the revelation of thanking him for those things that you know he is good for, that you believe that he will do, he's promised in his word, then thank him for it even though you have not seen any of that come to pass yet. And it's really truly how we reach into eternity and pull that promise out. And that's why I believe, it was so important when it was written, be thankful in everything. It's truly, there is a supernatural turnaround and blessing and fighting of the enemy that really truly comes from that. And just gratitude, a grateful heart.
Yes. And I remember in one part of my life where that came to me too, and I just couldn't quit saying, Lord, thank you for this, thank you for that, thank you.
Yes.
I mean, it was just like, it seemed like over and abundant of what you would ever think about doing. But I mean, it was just flowing. It was from a grateful heart. And when you're thankful, then, you are victorious, really, because all this stuff that's in your life doesn't have the power over you.
That's right.
When you can thank God for everything. And I know some things that happen in your life, it takes a while to be able to be thankful for that happening. But, even some things that are horrific can bring forth things in you and strengthen you and growth in you that you wouldn't have had if those things hadn't happened to you.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I'm, this example, this experience is a perfect example of how my heart of gratitude has even grown exponentially because of this, because of the magnitude of what this caused in my heart, in my life, in everything. In my family, we were all just kind of, I actually felt that the Lord did not want me to share any of what went on during that week of concentration with anyone, and I didn't. And I'm so grateful because there could have been an infusion of doubt or unbelief, and that supernatural high almost of faith in the Lord and trust in Him.
Yes.
I've even been crying out for that again, to be in that unbelievable position on a daily basis forever, and I believe it's coming. And I've already been thanking the Lord for that. That was a taste that I was given.
Yes.
But I believe that's possible every day for the rest of our lives.
Yes, and I was just thinking how the Lord prepared you for that with that dream and that open vision and those kinds of things. And not everybody gets that.
Right.
Sometimes people go through devastating things and they haven't had a dream, and they haven't had that vision, and they haven't had really a feeling of promise that God is going to deliver them out of that situation.
That's right.
But we can always know that God is faithful to us, and that He'll turn even the bad things in our life, He'll work them toward our good. And so, that's where that faith has to come in to pull us out of those situations and to pull us through. And like you say, to begin that thankfulness, knowing what God is going to do for
That's
us.
right.
And I think, speaking that out, it puts it in the atmosphere.
That's what it does.
And I mean, it just causes, our words are so powerful because God is our creator, and He spoke and things were created, and He framed the world with His words, and we are His children. And so when we speak, we create and we frame our
right.
lives and situations with those powerful words of the Lord and the faith. And the Lord can use those in our life and bring the fruit of those words and our faith to us.
That's right. And that's definitely key, to those, you're absolutely right. Oftentimes, more so than the experiences that I had leading up to that, you're absolutely right. And I've been through some of that as well, where I didn't have those kinds
Yes.
of supernatural encounters before. And you hit the nail on the head. The key to that is really just to believe. Just believe. Believe how good the Lord is, and that thankfulness and gratitude. It'll pull it out.
Yes.
It'll pull that promise out of His own heart.
Now, you haven't been a Christian for very long, and the Lord reminded you of that in a way that you want to tell us about. So tell us about that.
I've been a Christian for exactly 7 years. The 7 years ended, it was fulfilled in May, and I had just been sort of released by the Lord from my previous church. And so my mom said, well, why don't you, consider going back to where you first got baptized? And they had been through some trauma, a lot of the shaking and so forth hit them directly. So I went back, and it was where I was going when I got saved. It was where I was baptized, and the pastor actually said, we have just completed a 7-year cycle. The winter is over. This is a new season, a new beginning. And it just really hit me of how it was that first 7-year cycle.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I love that, when the winter is over.
Yeah.
And so we just want to encourage you that if you're in a season where you've lost a job or having turmoil, that the Lord is speaking, that the winter is over and the spring has come. And believe in Him, and He'll do wonderful things for you. Thank you for watching You Make the Difference, and we'll see you next week.
Got a promise from heaven. It's a year of replevin. Got a promise from heaven.